So it's Friday, guys. We have a very, very special guest here today. My friend Wes Gay. Wes, hi Wes. Wes will wave. Wes has been supporting our team. Really, I think it's been almost a year that I've known Wes through his company. And Wes, remind me the name of your company, and you work with StoryBrand, but your company is, what's it called?
My company is called Wayfinder.
That's it. Wes's company is Wayfinder, and Wes works with a specific marketing program called StoryBrand, and he'll tell you guys a little bit more about that. But effectively, Wes, I'll give you sort of the backdrop behind this call. This is a call that we do every Friday, and every Friday we invite people to come and speak to the team about leadership, personal development, concepts around that, different things that I've found to be really impactful in the course of my leadership and personal development growth journey. And today you get to be our special guest because we've spent so much time together over the last couple of months working on building out what we call the story behind what makes the Miale team the Miale team. And Wes is gonna, I don't want to steal too much of your thunder, Wes, but Wes is gonna share kind of how he's helped us craft and build the foundation for what it means to be a part of this organization. Is that a fair way to put it, Wes?
Yes.
Awesome.
Great.
All right. So with that said, I'm gonna hand controls over to you. I don't know if you're gonna use a slide deck or if you have anything like that.
Yep.
Perfect.
I got visual aid this morning. So thanks everybody for being here. Hey, I love it when it works.
Thank you.
Coming to you from Metro Atlanta, where it was in the 30s this morning, where we may as well shut the city down. I think y'all still play golf up there when it's in the 30s.
People up here play golf in the snow sometimes. Real lunatics.
It snows here. We wind up on Weekend Update on Saturday Night Live, which has happened. Anyway, so what we're going to talk about today is kind of a story in three parts. The first part is I'm going to walk you through really quick the framework and kind of the process we went through that's going to help get to the next two parts, which is how do we communicate the story? And it is based off of, spoiler, this best-selling book called Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. It sold a little over 1 million copies. I would highly encourage you to read it. It is one of the few business books that will not waste your time. It will also ruin movies for you. So as we go in the first few minutes, I'm going to ruin Top Gun Maverick. I might ruin all your favorite holiday Hallmark movies because they are so very formulaic. The great thing is, because they're formulaic, we get to use those same formulas in how we communicate. The second thing we're going to do is talk about what does that look like in terms of the Miale team for recruiting. And then the third part is what does it mean for getting clients on the buy or sell side. So with that, let's go ahead and jump in. I'm going to walk through StoryBrand first. The first thing we got to talk about is, and y'all know this in residential real estate probably as well as anybody, which is most companies waste a ton of money on marketing. You see it all the time. I know I've told Matt this before. Every time there's a giant public high school 10 minutes from our house, we drive by it all the time. And the baseball field is on the road we drive by. And so you can see in the baseball field and on the fence outside, all the real estate agents who have their banners on the wall. And like, that's their marketing. They spend a ton of money to do that every year. But you can think about all the companies who waste all the money. If you've been following the Jaguar debacle this week, Jaguar, if you haven't seen that, Jaguar is rebranding, and boy, did they probably spend millions of dollars on that. And it looks like it's going to be a colossal catastrophe. And it happens every single day. I've got story after story after story. I know Matt's probably got all kinds of scar tissue over the years and his experience with real estate, spending money on marketing. And the reason people waste money on marketing is because they forget that people buy products, they hire real estate agents, they vote for candidates, whatever it is, based on the words they read or hear. That's it. So if we can get the words right, everything else is going to get really clear for us. The number one thing I want you to remember today as we go through our conversation, even in your real estate careers, you're talking about objection handling at noon today. The number one thing is if you confuse, you'll lose. Any NFL fans in the house? Show of hands. Do you know why the San Francisco 49ers lost the Super Bowl this year? Obviously, the Chiefs scored more points than the 49ers. But if you watched all the footage after the game from NFL Films, and they're on the sideline with all these players, and they have the coin toss, what happened? All those players went, I didn't know that's what the rules were. They were confused about the overtime rules in the Super Bowl, the biggest televised event of the year. And what happens? They lost. They took a gamble and missed. Had they all known the rules and understood them better, outcome might have been different. That's what we're going to use story. Story is a sense-making device. It takes all the noise around us and puts it into a structure that helps us better communicate. We're not necessarily going to today talk about how do we tell stories? How do we tell client stories? How do we tell team member stories? We're not doing that necessarily. Instead, we're taking, here's the structure of a good story that's going to then allow us to communicate. And as we get on the client side in a little bit, I'm going to show you some ways you can use it in a listing presentation. How to even, we'll talk about objections. I know you're talking about that today. How to even frame an objection conversation, all by using storytelling elements. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into this framework. The first thing you have in any story is what we call the character. In a movie, this is your hero. In Top Gun Maverick, Maverick is the hero. In all those holiday Hallmark movies, it's the big city lawyer or big city finance person who left Holly Hills, North Carolina, and went to New York City and is coming back, and it's right at Christmas time, and his or her grandmother's bakery is about to be foreclosed on, right? That's the hero. That's who the story is about. And the thing about a story, the thing about a movie or about a hero is they want one thing. Top Gun Maverick is the biggest film of 2022, did $1.6 billion at the box office. That movie is about one thing, and it's about Maverick proving he is still an asset to the modern Navy. That's it. If it was going to be about that, and he was going to plan his parents' 50th wedding anniversary, and he was going to propose to Penny, and he's going to try to compete in the CrossFit Games, and he was going to have a 5K for wounded veterans, and he was going to try to compete at open mic night at a comedy club. You go, what's this movie about? Like, you're so confused. I mean, literally, my wife and I tried to watch the first episode of season 2 of The Diplomat on Netflix the other day. Within 20 minutes, I literally to my wife and said, I have no idea what this is about. Like, I am so confused as to what we're trying to do here, because they had like 6 things they're going on. Just give me one, right? And the reason is, if we can agitate a customer's desire, if we can figure out what they want, then they start to be brought into the story that we're going to tell. And I'll show you, like I said, with both recruiting and with clients, what that looks like. The second thing, though, in any story is there has to be a problem. There is no story without an obstacle. Every single movie you've ever loved has a problem to be solved. And usually within the first 10 to 15 minutes, we figure out that problem. If any of you have kids, younger kids like we do, you probably saw The Wild Robot this summer. Anybody see The Wild Robot with their kids? What is the problem of that movie? It's when the robot lands on the goose eggs and only one of them survive, and now the robot's got to raise a goose. That's the problem to be solved in that film. Spoiler. Top Gun Maverick, the problem to be solved is he's got to train these pilots on how to blow up this uranium enrichment plant in a very difficult space, in a very difficult mission. That's the movie. That's where the bulk of the story lives. By the way, you'll know a movie is over, except Lord of the Rings, I think. A movie is usually over when the problem is solved. A few years ago, I'm on an airplane and I'm watching Skyscraper with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, which is a ludicrous movie because it's Dwayne Johnson versus a building, and Dwayne Johnson wins. When he defeats the building, right? It's like every Dwayne Johnson movie. It's a ridiculous premise, except Moana. Anyways, it's a ridiculous premise. But when he survives defeating the building, gets back on the ground, he finds his wife and his daughter, hugs them. Movie's over. It's done. Main problem solved. Liam Neeson takes out a bunch of bad guys in Taken, finds his daughter on that boat. Within 5 minutes, credits roll. That's what we want to figure out, is what is the problem? There's multiple layers of problems that we'll get into in a little bit. But if we stop talking about customer problems, they stop paying attention, period. The best companies, the best products and brands know how to speak to their customers' problems and identify the problems as well. So then in a story or in a movie, you have what we call the guide character. This is Obi-Wan Kenobi in Star Wars. It's Haymitch in the Hunger Games. It's Rafiki in The Lion King. It's Mary Poppins in Mary Poppins. It's a coach or a teacher in basically every sports movie, right? It's Mr. Miyagi in The Karate Kid. You can pick, you could say any movie you want to figure out and you want to mention, there's almost always going to be that person in the story. And that person is the one who says, I understand what you're going through. I have empathy for you, and I have the authority to figure this out. Now, here's the thing about the guide. Is the guy, you always also know who the guide is in a story because they're always in a position of strength. They never waver. The hero of the story is usually weak. They're a mess. They're insecure. They're all over the place. If you go back to the first Spider-Man with Tom Holland, is that No Way Home with him and Iron Man? I forget. Like that one, I mean, Spider-Man's a mess in every movie he's in. But in that one, Spider-Man's clearly the hero. He's all over the place, right? Tony Stark is not. Tony Stark is kind of this constant. He's kind of plays that guide role in that film. At what we want to be for our clients and what we want to be for agents recruiting to the team is that position of strength that's trying to help people achieve or accomplish whatever it is they want to achieve or accomplish. The reality is the customer is the hero of the story, not our brand, right? So it's not about us as agents. It's about, because nobody woke up this morning and said, you know what sounds really fun? Buying or selling a house. Nobody said that. There's a reason why they're doing it. There is a chapter in a story of their lives they are living. And it's our job to come alongside them and figure out why that is, what the problems they're trying to solve for are, and then help them get to where they want to go, just like a guide does in any story. Now, a guide in a story usually does two things. The first thing they'll do is give them a plan. If I had $1 for every time in a movie somebody said, here's the plan, I'd on an island at this point. Like, think again, Top Gun Maverick, Tom Cruise, he walks into the hangar, which kind of signals this beginning of Act 2. He walks in the hangar, he makes that comment about the F-18 flight ops manual, he throws in the trash, and then he says, so here's the plan. Step 1, 2 teams of 2 flying in. Step 2, steep climb up, flip upside down, go down. Step 3, the first team, laser lock, shoots the missile. And then the second team, laser lock, shoots the missile. Step 4, steep climb out of there. Step 5, dog fight back. 5-step plan. We spend an hour of that movie on the plan. Usually the middle hour of a 2-hour movie is the plan section. Here's how we're going to do it. Here's how we're going to defuse the bomb. Here's how Dwayne Johnson's going to defeat the building. I haven't seen Red One yet. It seems like nobody has, based on box office numbers with Dwayne Johnson as head of security for Santa Claus. My assumption is half that movie is the plan of how do we find Santa Claus. Every time. The Santa Claus with Tim Allen. Half of that movie is what? Him trying to figure out how to be Santa Claus. You go to CarMax.com right now /buy or /sell. Literally on both of those pages, it says, here's how it works. Step 1, step 2, step 3. We all hate buying and selling cars. Nobody likes it. But they say, here's the process. It's super, super simple. So we're going to do that for you. Because people need an easy step-by-step plan to move forward, or they won't move forward at all. For most of the people you deal with, maybe everybody, buying or selling a home is the largest financial decision of their lives to date. So it's already an overwhelming thing. It's already a confusing thing. It's already exhausting. It already sounds complicated. I think your competitors probably treat it more like handing your prospects an atlas and say, here you go, you figure it out. When was the last time you used an atlas on a road trip? It's like the meme that goes around on the internet. We printed off MapQuest directions and rode around like pirates before we went back to using an atlas, right? We are a GPS people. We just want to be told where to go. We don't want surprises. So how do we guide people through that 5-step plan? Here's the consultation, right? Those kinds of things. The next thing a guide does is call our hero to action. In a movie, this is the climactic scene. It's always hey, go kick the field goal, go hit the home run, go make the game-winning shot. Hallmark holiday movies, go save your high school girlfriend's grandma's bakery from the bank foreclosure auction in Holly Hills Bakery, North Carolina, whatever, right? It's that, what do we want people to do in our world? It's just being explicit in terms of what is the next step somebody needs to take. Very practically, it's the button on a website. It's the next step in a social media post, etc. I have literally clicked on ads for e-commerce products and got to a landing page and there was no button to do anything next. I'm like, so what do you want me to? I literally one time read it and I literally said out loud to myself, so what am I supposed to do here? Like, I don't know, right? So this is why we just give people a clear call to action, because if we don't give them a clear call to action, they won't take action. So when you're talking about this thing on Sunday, getting people to go, what do you want people to do? Click, you can't say click the link in the description because that's not a thing on Instagram, but is it go to whatever.com? Is it mark your calendars? Is it check the link in bio? What is the action that people need to take? All of this goes together and starts to pull together. There's two things kind of hanging in the balance. One is success. What does life look like on the other side? So if we solve our problems, if the movie they defuse the bomb, if they win the championship, if the pilots blow up the uranium enrichment plant, what does life look like on the other side? Here's success, right? What is the vision of a better tomorrow? In your case, for agents, thing is in recruitment, it's literally things like, what are testimonials? What's the inverse of the problems they have now? What does life look like on the other side, et cetera? Same thing for your buyers and your sellers. What are the testimonials? What are the stories? What does life look like on the other side of working with you, right? Because people want us to cast a vision of what life looks like if they use us. So what does that look like? Let's just tell them. But on the flip side of that, what's failure look like? There's got to be some tension, some underlying thing that's going to be on there. You know, in movies, that I heard somebody say this recently, and I think they're right. Whenever the plot is not very good, they usually make the stakes really ridiculous. Like, I haven't seen San Andreas with Dwayne Johnson. I don't mean to be hating on Dwayne Johnson today. I like Dwayne Johnson a lot. I just think some of his movies are terrible. Jumanji was great. But I think it's San Andreas where it's like all of a sudden it's a weird plot, and then it's like the stakes just get ridiculous out of nowhere, right? The Rock definitely does too much. Although one of my kids did ask me the other day, did Dwayne Johnson get famous for raising one eyebrow? And I said, you have no idea how famous he was 25 years ago for raising one eyebrow. Anyways, but the reality is we've got to have some kind of stakes. So stakes are just what happens if they don't work with you and if their problems do not get solved. Nick's nickname is The Rock. There you go. All right. So if there's no consequences for doing business with us, there's no reason to do business with us. In other words, if any bakers in the house, if you're going to bake a dessert, a lot of times you'll add a little bit of salt to the recipe, not because you want it necessarily to taste salty. It's because you want to make the sweetness stand out. And so you have that counterpoint. If you're baking something with chocolate, you'll put espresso powder, coffee powder in there to amplify the chocolate flavor. Same thing. When we talk about failure, it actually amplifies and enhances what success could look like. So when we go through this process, and again, it goes into much greater detail in the Building a StoryBrand book, but we go through that process. Now we have these 7 steps we can put together into a single message. We can also use those things in different ways, which I'll show you. So we'll start with recruiting. So who is our character here when we're trying to tell a recruiting story? Well, it's full-time professional agents that want a thriving career in residential real estate. By the way, those words are intentional. We're looking for people who want a full-time career, not a part-time hobby. It's not the people who are trying to maybe sell 6 homes a year to the people in their PTO to keep their license. You're looking for full-time people who want a career, right? So that's what they want. If they're the character in their own story, because we're all the character in our own stories, then that's what they're looking for. But what's going on? We have layers of problems. Great stories have layers of problems. The first layer is the surface level. We call this external. And the problem is they're chasing things that don't create consistent, profitable outcomes. All right, so that's kind of the main issue. Like they're grinding their gears, they're doing all this stuff, and it's just not reflected in their bank accounts. And the feelings they have, or is they feel alone in the process because they don't have support from a team, and they're overwhelmed about what they should be doing. They go to a real estate conference, they read a real estate book, they go on a real estate webinar, they hear some of the real estate coaching and personal brand people out there say, you got to be doing XYZ thing. You got to be dancing and pointing at boxes on TikTok. And they go, I'm just over. Where do I even start? I have no idea what to do every day. But we have what we call the philosophical statement. A philosophical statement is a fundamental belief about why the problems your audience is facing are wrong. And we believe lasting real estate success is a team sport. It is not a solo sport. So if you want to thrive, you thrive as a team. By the way, I live in Atlanta. We now, as of last week, we have 8 Chick-fil-A restaurants within 15 minutes of my house. It's out of hand. They're all double drive-through. A couple of them are triple drive-through. It's nuts. Now, the funny thing now with Chick-fil-A, there's one of the Chick-fil-A's by our house. There's a Chick-fil-A in the middle, Taco Bell on one side, KFC on the other side. And we were going there a couple of years ago, and the Chick-fil-A had a double drive-through snaking through this parking lot. Taco Bell had 1 person, KFC had 2 people, and it was lunchtime. Like, it should have been busy, kind of this busy area of town. And I remember looking, I'm thinking, it was a great visual reminder of all 3 of those brands solve the same problem, surface level, which is I'm hungry, right? So you may say, but Wes, every team says that this is the problem they solve. Sure. Just like every fast food restaurant place says, you come to us because you're hungry. Just like, I don't know if y'all have Raising Cane's up there yet, the chicken finger joint. Same thing. Raising Cane's is outrageously good. Way better than their chicken strips are better than Chick-fil-A's, in my opinion. Anyways, but they all serve the same problem. Chick-fil-A, over the course of their history, says, we're going to go a level deeper. We're going to say, what do people feel about the typical fast food experience? Right? Think about the last time you went in some fast food restaurants and it's like the lights are flickering, like you're in an interrogation room of a New York City detective show. The staff is surprised you're there. If you're at McDonald's, the milkshake machine ain't working, the ice cream machine's not working, like all those things. Chick-fil-A, it's light, it's bright, everything's working. The drive-throughs became this joke during COVID because the drive-through lanes were more efficient than the COVID testing lines, like all that stuff, because they go deeper into the problems that people feel. We tend to make buying decisions. We make career decisions based on our resolution of our internal feelings. So if we speak to the frustrations, the anxieties, the fears, the uncertainties, the overwhelm people have, they're going to connect with that. Now, this is where the Miale team steps in. We say, we know real estate can be overwhelming, and we see it and feel it every day. Empathy. You're putting yourselves in their shoes. And then now we start to build our authority. And I'll also send this deck afterwards because y'all are adults and I don't have to read this out loud. Yeah, Chick-fil-A is the NASCAR pit crews of chicken drive-thru. It's crazy. So when we have a literal 3-step plan, now joining the team is long and complicated. It's not a thing. Now, some people might say, now we have a 27-part plan to join our team. Ain't nobody reading a 27-part plan. Your mamas love you, but even they're not reading your 27-part plan, right? They don't care. I want to give you 3 steps. Hey, it's really actually easy. Step 1, we're going to schedule a consult. Just like we do with our clients, we want to make sure that we want to find out what you get from your business and see if we're the right fit to help you get there. Step 2, you join the apprenticeship program. Step 3, win, right? Now I give 3 simple steps. Is there a lot more to it? Yes. Is there a lot more to buying and selling a car with CarMax than 3 steps? Sure. But they distill it down to its simplest form so that people can put their heads around it. What makes your team different? Well, we sell more houses and make more money. We have a proven process that produces successful outcomes. We're on the path to 100,000 transactions a year, and we are authentic, casual, and relatable to the people we serve, right? So these are the part of the story that says, hey, here's why we're different. So what is the call to action? Schedule a consult, free call, right? Have the conversation. Maybe you have some lead generating stuff out there around these ideas we've talked about, solving problems like the Connecticut Agent's Guide to Working Smarter, Not Harder, 5 signs you're ready for a team, the time audit calculator where your real estate hours really go, and the team versus solo decision matrix. Like these are the kinds of things you could say. If I've got somebody downloading these kinds of resources or engaging with this type of content, they're the kinds of people that are living the story that we're best suited for. So what does that lead to? It leads to thriving in a structured, supportive environment. It says having a support to win with clear goals and professional training, be part of a team to navigate any questions, and building a more successful business without working crazy hours. So if I was to sit down in front of a room full of people and for whatever reason, I was up there with Matt and it was just me and Matt, and Matt lost his voice and said, hey, Wes, can you go pitch the Miale team? I said, great. You just walk up and basically recite this. Hey, I know everybody in this room wants to have a full-time thriving professional real estate career. The problem is this job is overwhelming. You wake up every day, you don't know what to do. You feel like you're spinning your wheels. You're putting in a ton of hours that's not reflected in your bank account. You know what we found over the years is that real estate success is a team sport, not a solo sport. And we get it at the Miale team. We've got dozens of agents every day doing this as we're on the path to 1,000 transactions a year, right? And then that's the story I start telling. Otherwise, what happens is other people would go, well, we're trying to increase our best places to work metric, and our logo is blue because Matt's grandmother used a blue fountain pen when he was a kid, and he really wants to honor his grandmother, so the logo is blue. And we're really trying hard, and we're trying to achieve. And like all anybody else is hearing is, that's great. You're a hero in your story. I'm a hero in my story, and 2 heroes butt heads. Every single superhero movie where there's more than one hero, where does the bulk of the conflict lie in the movie? Between the heroes. The Avengers, they all clash with each other. I haven't seen any of the DC stuff, but from what I've seen, they all clash with each other. 2 heroes never get along, right? The same thing is true here. So we want to think about how do we get out of this clash and instead say, you're the hero, we're the guide to help you get to where you want to go. And failure, right? What does failure look like? Trying to figure out everything on your own, feeling isolated in your business, and working long hours and the bank account doesn't reflect it. Deadpool and Wolverine, exactly. So if I were to say, hey, what's an elevator pitch? Most agents struggle to build successful businesses on their own. The Miale team equips agents with the tools and team members to help them thrive. Simple. Now in the South, when you say, but Wes, there's so much more. I get that. But if you're at an event and somebody says, hey, tell me about what you do. I don't want to kick into a full pitch. I want to give them just enough that's a hook. And then I'm going to generate one of two responses. One response is, tell me more. The other response is, down in the South, we say, bless your heart, which means you're an idiot. Bless your heart. I hope you stay alive in life. And they're going to keep going. We don't want the bless your hearts here. We want the tell me mores. So I use the full elevator pitch as my tell me more, and then I go from there. I use the conversation hook pitch. It's the signature of my email. It's the bio of Instagram. It's all that kind of stuff. It gives me the hook of the story where I can go on and tell the rest. I told you I was going to ruin movies. In Hollywood, they have this thing called the one-liner, which is it's the old, remember when we had to decide we were going to watch based off what the TV guide said? And so you had to read what the descriptions were of the TV guide channel, like the TV guide channel or the physical TV guide. Well, that's one-liners used there. They're also used to pitch movies. And so the most famous one is in the late 70s. These two guys had about 80% of a screenplay done. They walk into a meeting with a production company, and the production company says, explain your movie. And yeah, next I'm going to talk about cassette tapes and mini discs while we're at it. And the time and temperature phone number. Did y'all ever call time and temperature? You were looking at the clock and said, what's the time as you call the bank? Anyways, but these two guys walk into a meeting with a production company and they say, okay, tell us about your movie. And the guys look at the people and say, it's Jaws in space. And they go, great, we'll bought. So they bought the movie. Screenplay wasn't done because they had a great description. Do you know what, the movie came out in 1979. Director was Ridley Scott. Anybody have any thought about what that movie might be?
1979.
Alien.
Ridley Scott. Alien, exactly. Jaws in space was all they said. Several years ago, John Krasinski is on the set of some other film. These two guys come up to him and said, hey, we're working on a movie and it's about a family who can't make a sound and you have no idea why. And he goes, I'm in. And that's how we got A Quiet Place 2. I think there's a third one, right? Day one or day zero or one day or something.
Day one. Quiet
Yeah.
Place 1.
Yeah, exactly. That simple little hook does that. So again, if I'm looking practically, how does this work? And I'm meeting with somebody who's an agent who's on playing a solo game or just with a broker, not a team, I might start it out with, I hear from a lot of agents that they're working crazy hours, but their bank account doesn't reflect it. And now I say that and they go, ooh, ideally somebody's going to feel that in their soul. What's your experience been like? And they're probably going to say, yeah, I feel like I'm working 80 hours a week. I'm doing 3 open houses a weekend. I'm not getting anywhere. And, you know, we built our team differently, and we've actually created a structure where agents can thrive without sacrificing their personal lives. Let me tell you how that works. They're in, right? They are in. Now, what else will this look like? Social media examples. You could obviously do a video of the day in the life. What does it mean to show the team support? When I was there a few months ago, there were several. I don't remember right offhand, but I know there were several stories of instances where y'all were talking about you would call other agents on the team to help you through a specific situation or a specific challenge in a transaction. Talk to me about that. Give me a carousel about 3 myths joining a team and what the truth really is. Maybe you say, hey, let me tell you about one of our newest agents. In their first 90 days after our apprenticeship, they got 4 listings. How did they do it? Well, they followed the system. What's the system? Instagram stories. Take me into team training. Have somebody after this call do a debrief or recap of what these Friday calls are like, that kind of thing. All right. Because the more we show up as the guide, what we're doing is saying, we understand you, and here's the authority as to why we're the best people to solve the problems that you face. Now, we'll shift gears. How do we do this for our clients? Well, our character is pretty simple. What do they want? What do they want? They want to buy or sell a home. This is not complicated. There's literally one of 2 things they can do. That's the advantage residential real estate has over commercial, because commercial is like 40 things people can do. Residential is like, you're buying or selling. That's it. The problem is they don't know what they don't know about the process.
I can help you.
Hi, this is Erin Burnap. I'm calling regarding my son Dylan, who sees Dr. Smith. He
yourself,
has been
Erin.
experiencing some nausea and vomiting and sore throat for a couple of days. So I'm just thinking he might have strep because it's not getting any better. Is there any way that I could schedule him for a
You gotta mute yourself.
Everyone can hear you.
There we go.
Before a sick
Hey,
visit.
Wes, I think you can mute her if you click
Oh,
on her.
yeah.
you see the 3
That's
dots.
right, because I'm a
Okay.
co-host or something. I forgot.
There you
I
go.
have power here. Somebody else do it. I wasn't paying. Yeah.
She figured it out.
Okay.
Aaron, we feel for your kid. Sorry.
Strep is terrible. It's the worst.
Strep's the worst.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Y'all know this. Most people don't buy or sell homes very often. It is such an infrequent thing. And so when you go to do it again, you think you know, but it's like that old MTV show. You have no idea. Right? You just don't, they don't know what they don't know. What am I missing? What am I not thinking? Now you're having to compete with all the idiots on the internet and the headlines and the narratives that people build from what they read or what their neighbor's Uncle Joe did, who last sold a house in 1986, says about real estate, or what their neighborhood Facebook HOA group says, or the junk they get in the mail from the agents who are desperate for their business. Right? That's the kind of stuff. They're also internally, what are they probably struggling with? They fear getting duped and misled, because they probably also have friends who have horror stories about what happened and how the process was awful, or how it was miserable, or how it was complicated, or how they feel like they didn't get the most out of it or whatever. And they're overwhelmed by the complexity of the transaction. Again, for the folks y'all are working with, whether they're buying or selling, this is probably the biggest financial decision or transaction they made in their lives up to this point. And so they're overwhelmed by how complicated this can be. I mean, my wife and I, we're probably going to move next summer, like beginning of the summer, or we're going to sell in the spring like everybody else, and then move in the summer. And we're 6 months out, and we're from like the actual closing, I guess. And we're already overwhelmed by all the crap we think we have to do around the house. It's like, we're just thinking, it just sounds awful. But the reality is your agent should be a trusted advisor to help you make the best decisions. Because y'all know this better than I do. Part of what you do is help people make 1,000 decisions along the way, because you're professional decision makers. Clients are not, because they don't do this but twice every 10 years. And so they need somebody who's a trusted advisor. Buying or selling a home is a big moment, and it shouldn't feel like your new job, right? You don't need a side job. You've got a full-time job. You don't need a side job as a real estate agent trying to figure all this out. At the Miale team, we help people make the best decisions for buying or selling a home. We guide you every step of the way. With our proven approach, we've helped thousands of other people. That's a great authority signal. Thousands of other people. You could even say thousands of people just like you, thousands of families just like you, buy or sell with confidence, leading us to be the top team in the state. We want to look for little ways to signal authority with your numbers, because you've done the work. So those little things are great. I love using the phrase "like you," right? So if I'm at a listing presentation, I might use the exact something language like this. Hey, our team has guided thousands of families just like you, who are ready to enter the next season like you are. Maybe the kids are getting a little bigger and you want a little more space, or the kids have grown and gone and you want to change because it's a new season. We've helped thousands of families just like you, because now you feel like you're not the first one, but I also feel like, I can trust you because you've done this before. You've gone where I haven't, kind of thing. So here's how it works. 1, we schedule a consultation. 2, you see homes. 3, sign. Real simple. Again, not overcomplicated. How do you help people sell? Schedule a consultation, get ready, and I said raise a glass. Celebrate knowing your home is sold and you're ready for the next season of life. There's a group out of Fort Worth, Texas. It's a real estate group called Sixth Avenue Homes. Now, they're real estate and renovation. So their niche is they help people buy and then renovate houses. They get a lot of older houses in actual Fort Worth, like Fort Worth city limits. And so that's their niche, is kind of is that buy, sell, or buy and renovate. And so literally, they do something similar to this, where they'll actually, on your closing, on the move-in day, they find out when move-in day is, they come to the house with this custom engraved box with a couple of whiskey glasses, and they literally have a toast on the front porch. They give them this cool box. The whiskey glass is a bottle of some nice whiskey, and then off you go, right? Those are the little things that matter. By the way, if y'all haven't read Unreasonable Hospitality by Will Guidara, great book. I got to hear him speak a few weeks ago in Nashville, and it's so good. What makes your team different? Essentially, why are you the best guide? We work with more clients than anyone in Connecticut. Our proven process helps people make the best decisions. We educate along the way so people feel confident in every step, and we guide people through the process so they're uncertain. Now, I want to say this too. I'm pause here for a second. I worked with an agent a few years ago in Annapolis, Maryland, and he's like the top agent in Annapolis. He was a Harvard MBA. I forget he was in finance for a while and decided to move back home, start a real estate business, and he's killing it. I mean, he's done it for years. Great guy. Guy named David Orso. And we're reworking to revamp a lot of his collateral through this StoryBrand lens. So he shipped it all to me. And I remember, I'll never forget, I had this big piece that I was looking at, and it was his, it walked through his pricing process. So we're on a Zoom call like this. I'm reading, and I said, hey, David, this is a dumb question. I said, but I've worked with other folks in real estate. They say the same thing. Like, why do you have this really beautifully designed, really nice piece about your pricing process on a listing presentation? And he laughed and he said, well, here's the funny thing. He said, one, any competent real estate agent in the United States of America does exactly what's in that document. And so I said, so why do you do it? Why do you put it here? He said, well, the other thing is most real estate agents never talk about it. He said, so we explained the process and we named the process. So now if we're one of 5 agents in a listing presentation, people think we're the only ones who price it this way. And this is our pricing process. So as a result, people trust us more because we explain how it works. He said, nobody else does this. And he said, it makes no sense. So my encouragement is when you're thinking about, oh, well, everybody does it this way. Everybody doesn't talk about it the same way. I guarantee it. I have been across 60 plus industries, and time again, when we look at competitors assume the audience knows what they mean, or they just assume since everybody does it, there's no need to talk about it. Financial advisors are another great example. Financial advisors basically all do about the same thing. Some of them are just better explaining how it works. And those you think, well, they're the only ones who do it that way. Every competent advisor does basically the same thing. So I would encourage you as you're thinking about how do I explain this to people, whatever your process is, if you explain it and then eventually name it, you're going to look like the only people in town to do it, and people are going to trust you because they trust the process. So I'll step off my soapbox. So now what's the next step? We're going to schedule a consultation, right? So then how do I generate leads? Well, I might have the Connecticut Home Value Calculator or the Ultimate Home Sellers Timeline Checklist. Boy, that'd be super helpful. 7 questions to ask before listing your homes. The first time home buyers roadmap, right? These are the kind of things that are going to trigger the people that you're interested, that are looking for an agent that are going to set you apart. Success. Well, what do I get? I get an expert helping make the right decision. I get clarity at every step, and I get confidence in buying or selling. Failure is trying to navigate everything out on their own, not knowing if they're making the best decisions and walking through the process in the dark. These days, we all want to know what's going on about everything. And so the more we show people the process, the more people are going to trust us because they're just saying, here's how it works. I don't have anything to hide. Like, here's the 5 steps. Here's the 7 phases of the business, whatever it is. Again, elevator pitch. I'm at an event there, a local event. They say, hey, what do you do? And I say, you know what? Buying and selling a home shouldn't feel like your next job, or shouldn't feel like a part-time job. The Miale team guides you through every step of the process so you make the best decisions for your life. And I say that, and they're going to go, oh man, you're right. The last time I bought or sold, it really did feel like I had a new part-time job. Or my cousin's thinking about selling a house. Could you help them? Now I'm anchored in their minds as somebody who solves the problem of making sure this doesn't feel like their next job. And then this conversation, buying or selling a home shouldn't be a second job, right? You say, Wes, this sounds simple. I promise you simplicity wins every single time. Complexity will confuse people, and that's how you lose in business. So if I'm walking into a listing presentation, and I say, hey, tell me what concerns you most about selling your home. You know, most agents are probably going to walk in like the razzle dazzle. They're going to want to walk in like they're Dwayne Johnson in 2000 or 1999 Attitude Era WWE with pyro and lights and intro music and ready to lay the smackdown on somebody. And you walk in and go, actually, wait, can you tell me what concerns you most about selling your home right now? What are you most overwhelmed about? What are you? Tell me about it. What led you to this point? Because I know nobody just woke up and said, hey, selling a home sounds fun. You know, it's not like saying I want pancakes for breakfast. That sounds fun. Donuts for breakfast. That sounds fun. Selling a home doesn't sound fun. And they're going to start to say, well, our kids are getting a little older. We need more space. Okay, so now I'm trying to solve the problem of somewhere they need for their family next. Not how do I get more square footage? They want a better place for their family. That's what I hear. So I say, hey, you know what? One of the things we hear is many sellers tell us they're worried about making costly mistakes or feeling overwhelmed in the process, especially as you're getting ready to enter into a new season of life with your family, as your kids are getting older and you want a better space for them, as they, become teenagers, you want to become the place where all their friends want to hang out. In order to do that, you've got to have the right house for you. And so that's why we've developed a really clear system to guide you through every decision. Let me show you how it works. Now they're paying attention, right? Now they're leaned in and go, oh, okay. And subconsciously, they're trying to help me win. And that's what we all want, is people who are going to help us win in our lives. Social media. You could say we noticed this home that saved the buyer $5,000, if that's a thing. 5 things every Connecticut buyer should look for this spring, which might be the same thing every spring. We just say it's the 2025 guide, and they don't know. It's the same as last year because they didn't buy or sell last year. Post just sold. Here's how our team approached to help sell this unique situation. So again, I go back to, I forget who it was. A few different people talked about situations they had encountered that when they were on their own before were really hard to figure out because they didn't have anybody to talk to. But because you have the team, you can pick up the phone and call somebody else and say, hey, I know you specialize in there. You had a similar transaction to this 3 months ago. How did you navigate this thing? Right? Tell that story and say, because we have a team, you're getting your agent who's going to work with you, but you get the full power of a team behind them, making sure that they confidently navigate every step and can clearly see around corners. Quick, Instagram story, understanding inspection reports. Right? Again, you say, Wes, this is all so basic. Yeah, but that stuff stands out. I think I told Matt this last time we talked. I saw a meme a few weeks ago on Instagram that said, nobody creates content like a high school friend who just became a real estate agent. And ever since I saw that, no offense, I have seen so much more Instagram stuff. There's a guy down in North Florida in 30A, if anybody familiar with North Florida, west of Panama City, there's an area called 30A. It's kind of a redneck Hamptons because it's west of the redneck Riviera in Panama City. I grew up north of there. So like I'm the panhandle of Florida is Alabama with a beachfront. Like, let's just be real. Let's be honest about what it is. Anyways, there's a guy there who's in this 30A area who's like one of the top, he's the top luxury agent in town. And these homes typically sell for $3 million or more. It's like the 1% gets gentrified by the 0.1%. It's like that kind of area. But anyways, this guy built a business, and I follow some of his stuff, and it's like, this doesn't speak to your audience. I don't know. I literally don't know how he became a top agent because his stuff doesn't speak to his audience at all. It's all about him. He doesn't seem like he connects to the audience at all, but he does something right. But the reality is you want to keep it really simple. So if I'm a luxury agent, I'm talking to some luxury agents in Franklin, Tennessee next 2 weeks from now. Like, if I'm a luxury agent, for example, I'm going to think about what kind of content do I need to post that's going to make the people most likely to buy or sell a luxury home. What do they want to see? If I'm dealing with, if in New Haven, Connecticut, what are the things that are most likely to get the people who are going to move in and out of town most likely to care about? What are the questions they have? If you want to figure out your social media plan for between now and the end of the year, there's 5 weeks left. You could have 20 Instagram posts between now and the end of the week. And here's how you do it. Sit down, just literally a piece of paper. Don't even do your phone or your computer, and say, what are the 20 questions I've heard most recently from buyers and sellers? What are the questions? There's no question too dumb. There's no question too specific. Write all the questions down. Write the answers down. You have your content plan for the next 5 weeks. That's 4 posts a week. I could even double it. I can make one a video and then one a post. Now I have 40 because I took those 20 things and have 2 different formats, because not everybody's going to see everything because of the algorithm. Right? That's what we're talking about here. It really boils down to 2 things. How do I solve their problems, and how do I be the guide? I solve the problems of what's going on at the surface level, what's going on underneath, what feelings do they have about this process, right? So like, if you're doing a walkthrough with somebody on a listing and they say, hey, tell me about why you're wanting to sell, or tell me what led you to want to sell the home. And then you're kind of walking through and you're picking up on stuff and say, well, we have a single sink in the master. We really want double sinks. I'd tag that because I'd use that later. Well, this layout's fine, but as our kids are getting older, we really love to have a finished basement. They can just kind of have their hangout space with their friends. We can really make it cool. Okay. They want something for their family next. Or our youngest is graduating and going to college in the fall, and we're looking for something that's a better fit for us. Okay. So then when I get ready to do a pitch on a listing presentation, I'm going to say, hey, what I found is that it's actually easier to get double sinks than go through marriage counseling. So why don't we get 2 sinks in the master for you? Well, we can find that as you're getting ready. But then the other thing is, what I also heard was that it's not just about double sinks or a different kitchen layout. It's how do you have the house that's best set up for what you feel like is the right home for your family for the future? And finding that can feel overwhelming. You may browse realtor.com, may browse Zillow, may even get on MLS if you can. But you're not going to know what to look for. You're not going to know what the pitfalls are. You're not going to know the booby traps in this whole thing. We do. We're going to help you not only figure out exactly what's right for you, but also find it for you. Make sure you get it done. I'm going to sell, same thing. Help you get set up to sell without the overwhelm. That's what we're talking about here. Just think about the problems that buyers or sellers have. Think about the problems that agents have. When you were an agent before you joined the Miale team, what problems did you have? Talk about those. There's your content plan. There's your sales pitch. There's your marketing roadmap forever. And there you go.
Wes, that's awesome, man. Thank you so much. So guys, listen, what we want to do is I want you to ask questions. You just sat through an hour. Wes, how much time do we have with you, buddy?
I don't know what the schedule is.
Like 9:24 right now.
Yeah, we can go to, I mean, how long do we want to go? How long do we have scheduled for? I don't even know. I didn't look.
We typically have about an hour, but just in case we had a couple questions, like just wanted to see if we could take like 10 minutes. Is that cool?
Let's go. Yeah, that's cool.
Minutes. All right. So guys, if you had any questions, right, we just got a mountain of information, right? You got a process and a framework, which for me, the most powerful part of what we just learned is following a framework, right? The idea that any messaging that you have actually follows a path and a pattern, because we're a company and a business of systems and models. And when you follow a system and a model, things become repeatable, scalable, and predictable. So you could do something, get a result, do something, get a result. What Wes just did is he showed you two very important, by the way, just like a 1 through 5, you can apply this to a whole lot of stuff, right? But what you learned is, here's a thing that if you want to get a message out, you can follow a process. You could follow a story brand. You could follow the method behind who's the hero, who's the guide, what's the problem, and then you can create a solution. You could do that individually in your businesses. And what you've heard from Wes is what he's derived from multiple days working with us, coming up with, hey, if I were you, this is how I would tell your story. This is the way I would make it make sense to the people you're targeting. So I want to open it up for a couple of questions so then we can let Wes get on with his day. Kasha, what are you thinking?
So thank you very much, first of all, for this wonderful content, because it's absolutely amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're welcome.
Now, obviously what you said, that every single qualified agent will do the same thing. How do we find our own why and uniqueness? That's one. And another is, I'm blown away by your like hook lines for the social media posts or any content. How do we get good at creating those? Because understanding the whole structure and how it works and the whole thing, but how do we really nail writing those hooks?
Yeah, great question. So I'll start with that one first. So writing great. So with hooks, there's a couple of ways you can do it. One is start with a problem. So for example, if I want to do a video about inspection reports, like I said, I might open that video with, have you ever looked at an inspection, have you ever looked at an inspection report and thought you're reading a foreign language? Most inspection reports are confusing because let's be honest, you're not a full-time home inspector. You have a life, right? You read these once every few years. So let me explain what you should actually look for in your inspection report. That would also be a great little video to send people after they get their inspection report. So yeah, put it on Instagram, but then send them a link to the Instagram video as soon as they get their inspection report. So like I like to start with a problem as the great hook. Or you can also start with, hey, here's what you want. Hey, you want a home that's great for your family. And they're going to, yeah, I do. Right. So
what I love about that, Wes, I just want to add on to it, is that number one, it's evergreen content, meaning that if you're creating something, it's relevant forever. When you start with a question or a problem, that's the first thing, so that you're not repeating yourself. The other thing is that oftentimes what I see for social media, and you talked about it earlier, is what I see and why I find it somewhat distasteful is that most of the time people start with like, I was thinking this, like, let me tell you a little bit about what's happening in my head. Like, I'm a realtor and you should hear my inner monologue. And I think that that's like, it's so again, it makes the wrong person the hero versus going and saying like, every day when I'm out in the marketplace, people ask me what's going on in the market. And I'll tell you a couple of things that I look at when I'm trying to figure out what's happening in the market. Inventory, how many houses have come up for sale? You're educating and you're not making it about you, you're making it about the client. Every once in a while, somebody wants to ask me, hey, what's new construction like in the state of Connecticut? Well, how do I go buy a new house? Like, it's a question that people would be like, yeah, I'm interested in that, versus today, I was thinking about my real estate career and how my real estate career and why I'm so valuable and I'm so important. I love the idea of just framing it around what are questions that people have, because then if you created 20 of them, by the way, you said that's 5 weeks. So that might actually be a year, because you can just reuse the same questions and answer them differently.
For sure.
It just come up with 20 important questions and just re-answer them over and over again with new videos.
Part of, and I'd say too, to the second question is, part of the thing is with content, or this goes to your first question about content, I think, which is, if I'm creating content, part of it is you just have to be in a habit of the business y'all are in, of always looking for opportunities to create content. Here's what I mean. The real estate profession is really an expertise business, right? Because people aren't hiring you to build the house. They're not hiring you to fix the plumbing. They're hiring you for your head, not your hands. Yeah. And so because of that, my guess is all of y'all, when you're in with clients or you're talking, even on the recruiting side, you naturally say stuff that is interesting, that's compelling, that's problem solving face-to-face with clients, because you just get in the moment. You're just trying to guide them through towards the transaction. So what you have to start to train yourself on is, you leave a listing presentation, or you leave a meeting with a client, and something came up that you go, oh, that's a really common problem. You have an answer that was like a big aha for them. You get in the car, the first thing you do before you turn the car on is you turn your phone on, start recording, and say, hey, I just left a conversation with a client and they had this question that comes up all the time, which is, state the question, explain the question, answer the question, you're done, right? I mean, that's the kind of granularity that we're talking about here. But it's not, again, it's not complicated, because my guess is all of y'all could just, if I interviewed any one of you for 30 minutes, we could have 100 different social media posts done. Because I'd go, what are the things that people come talk about a lot? How do you solve those? What are the weirdest things, or the most unexpected things that people consume? There's your content plan.
Yeah. It's powerful. It's really, really good, Wes. Thank you. Thank you, Kasha. Thanks for the comment. What are you thinking, Aaron?
So thank you, Wes, for going over this today. So I don't really have a question. I just wanted to share a big aha and takeaway. And I put it in the group chat. It's that I think as realtors, we try to make ourselves the hero in the story because we feel like that's our job. When the reality is we are the guide. And I love you brought up a couple key guide characters that we're all familiar with, like Rafiki. And I was just thinking how good the guides are in every movie in taking all the chaos that the hero is experiencing and putting it into these little phrases or sentences or I don't know, metaphors that stick in our heads forever if we've seen the movies.
Yeah, they simplify, like Yoda. Yoda's the master of the one-liner. Yeah.
And so, and that's essentially what you're telling us to do, Wes, is to, as the guide in the story of our characters or agents that are struggling, that are exploring our team or any of that stuff, it's like, how can you just simplify the message? Now, if they want more detail, of course, we're going to give it to them. But how many times do we overcomplicate the things that we are explaining to people because we think we need to share all the information? They couldn't handle all the information, but what's the most relevant thing to them, and how can we break that down to a plan? And so my brain is just spinning and excited about how I can fine tune the things that I do with my clients to just be more impactful and to really help them be the hero in their own story.
Yeah, to your point, Aaron, there's a book came out years ago called The Art of Explanation. And in that, the author talks about this idea of the curse of knowledge. And for example, in real estate, ideally on a scale of 1 to 10 of expertise, all y'all live on a 9 or a 10. You know it all. It's your full-time job. You know it intimately every day. Your audience understands and engages with real estate at a 1 or a 2. Other agents think they're being really clear when they're at a 7. But your audience still feels like they have to get a PhD in real estate to understand what the heck you're talking about. And so that's the thing. You say, boy, I just got to get simple, because you're not selling you're not working with other real estate professionals as clients. You're getting them you're getting teachers and lawyers and nurses and plumbers and electricians and retired folks and principals, and like, they're not full-time real estate professionals. So don't talk to them that way. I can't tell you how many times and again, this is something that plagues every industry where they forget that. You got to keep it really simple. And like I said, take all the chaos and all the uncertainty and all the overwhelm they feel, and just, your job is just to distill it down into really simple things. People don't buy the best products and services. They buy the things they understand the best, right? So our goal is to be the best, but also to be the best at being understood. Because if we also continue really hard at being understood, at the problems that we solve and playing the guide, we're going to win.
That is actual brilliance in a bottle right there, Wes, because when you go to buy a car, you're not actually asking the salesperson to explain how the engine works or why the GPS does what it does, right? Like but we could easily fall into the trap of trying to explain to somebody, let me tell you a little bit about an internal combustion engine, right? Gasoline goes into a gas tank and then it vaporizes and the little mini explosions happen. Have you ever heard of a piston? Like, before you know it, you think you're educating, and what you're really doing is scaring the crap out of somebody and driving them away from what do they really want? They want something that they can go sit in the front seat, push a button, it starts, it's reliable. Like, you're answering the problem on their terms, not on yours. I love it. What was the name of the book? The Art of Explanation?
The Art of Explanation by Lee Lefevre. And
you said that inside it, they talk about something called is it the curse of knowledge?
The curse of knowledge. Yeah. He talks about, it's a curse of knowledge where most businesses live on a scale of 1 to 10, live at a 10. And they think they're being clear when they're at a 6, 7 or 8, but in reality, your audience is going to engage at a 1 or 2.
It's fantastic. Wes, I can't thank you enough. This has been super powerful, giving us a really good, next step. Next evolution in the process of working with you. Very, very exciting. So thank you. How can we support you, Wes? What can the team do? Where can we find you? Should we look you up on Instagram? Should we tag you? Should we post? Should we?
Sure. Tag me.
How do we support you?
Yes. I'm on Instagram at Wes Gay. I'm on the artist formerly known as Twitter at Wes Gay, Facebook at Wes Gay, LinkedIn at Wes Gay. Yeah, just go in there. And I'd love to just DM me on Instagram, because that's probably where y'all are most active. Your biggest takeaways, if you have any questions or if you want to tag me anything, love that. But at the end of the day, our job is real simple. How do we solve problems and how do we play the guide? That's it. You sit down on Instagram today, you do that. You talk about your objections at noon on your mastermind call. What you're really getting at on objections is what problem are they? The objection is really what problem are they trying to solve for? And then how do I play the guide by showing them how to solve it? Let me give you a plan, right? You do that over and over and over again, I promise you're going to win.
Thank you, Wes. Guys, thank you. Thank you, Wes. Hey, listen, it's a great weekend to go out and sign something, sell something, or set an appointment, because there's really nothing else to do, right? So go make it happen, everybody. Love y'all. See ya. Thank you again, Wes.
Thanks, y'all.